Hi, I'm Dave Wescott, CEO of Evergreen Brands. And this series, this podcast, this LinkedIn Live is all about building the most amazing brand profitable. Yeah, profitable and possible. Possible was the real word there. But when you think about your business, what I want to start with and what I want to talk about today is how do you start a business? Build your own brand of crazy. That's the title of this initiative. And I think it's important because before you even take the lunge, before you even take the step, before you even move into I'm going to own my own business, you've got to decide what is it that you're going to do. And I like to think building something crazy, building something that creates attention, building something that draws you in. And during this, Rich is shooting camera. I might even interact with Rich a little bit because, we want to have some fun here. But I like to think about it is think about an orange Ferrari or a red Ferrari in a sea of Hondas. Like, how are you going to be different? And I think when you start your business, you've got all the simple things, right? Well, I'm going to go down to the Department of Licensing and I'm going to get my business license and I'm going to create a name. And the name is going to be called Scott's Landscaping Service or Scott's Roofing Service. What is special about that name? That it has your name in it, that you took pride of it? How is your customer going to remember you? How is your customer going to differentiate you from anybody else? One of the brands that we own in Evergreen Brands is TransBlue. When I was thinking about the name TransBlue, I wanted it to have really special meaning. I wanted it to mean something more than just a name. And as I was going through and as I was creating that name, I thought, what do I want? What is missing in the construction industry? Because TransBlue is a construction company. What am I missing in the construction industry? Well, I'm missing transparency, right? Very few companies are transparent. And I can tell you that today I got an email from a gal that we are proposing to do some business for. And she said, how did you come up with your pricing? She said, your pricing is 3 times higher than anyone else's. And this was for snow removal. And I said, well, it's simple. And let me be totally transparent with you. And I showed her the numbers and I said, see, this is the square footage of the properties. And then I said, this is the average snowfall. And I said, in these markets, you're looking at 70 inches of snow per season. And I said, I figured that we are going to plow the snow every 2 inches. So that's going to give us 35 plows. And then I looked at the average number of freezing days that have moisture, and I got 20 days above and beyond what we're going to plow. So we're going to service the property 55 times. And that is how I'm going to get my cost. That is what drives my cost. And then I look at the geographical location and I see, how far away it is from everything else. And so I think that having that transparency is super important. Why? That customer came back to me and they said, wow, that's super awesome. That totally makes sense. Let me tell you what I found. The square footages are off on the properties that you bid. Our properties actually aren't that big. And you shared the maps with me. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to have the maps adjusted so that we can get the proper square footages. And she said, because of the transparency, I'd love to launch a pilot program with you. I'm not going to give you all the sites you want, but I will give it a shot to see if we can build a relationship. And that's what the name is all about, right? The name, transparency, says we are going to be transparent in everything that we do as a company. The other thing that you have to do is become transparent with your staff. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, should I share my financials with my team? Should I let my team know that we might not be able to make payroll next week? Should I let my team know that we're having a hard time? And my question is, maybe not every single person on the team needs to know that, but you have key individuals who absolutely have to know where you're at financially. And they are smart people who can help you maybe dig out of a hole, or maybe find ways to preserve cash flow, or maybe increase sales. And if they don't know there's an issue, then they're never going to be able to help you. And so as you're building your business, you want that name to reflect what values you want to have. So for me, TransBlue, that's transparency. That's the first part. And then I thought, how do I see transparency? What does that look like to me? And the only thing that I could think of was, if I'm out on the Caribbean and I'm 100 feet out and I've got that beautiful blue water and I can see from the boat to the floor, that's transparency. I can see everything happening. Probably like you, I've seen one too many shark movies, right? I do not like sharks. For that reason, I do not like the ocean. So if I'm going to get into the ocean, I'm not getting into the black water. That is not happening. I will get into the light blue water, however, because I can see what's down there. And I want that. And so that's where the name TransBlue came from for that brand. And I think that as you build your business, what does it really stand for? And if you want the brand to be known as Scott Green Construction Services, or Green Construction Services, because that's your last name, then so be it. How does that sell, by the way, when you decide to move on and retire and sell your biggest asset, which is always your business? How does that sell when the next guy's like, well, I'm not Scott Green. I'm Bob Johnson. Am I going to change the name to Johnson Construction? Or do I have to continue being Green Construction? So think about that name, because it's really, really important over the life cycle of your business. And it's the first part of building your own brand of crazy. And next thing I want you to do is I want you to envision the type of employee that you have. What kind of person is going to work for you? The next thing I want you to do is I want you to think about yourself. What kind of person are you? What kind of employee are you? How do you dress? Are you from the, I'm going to call it Star Wars generation, where we wear t-shirts and long hair and sweatpants to work? Or are we from the Frank Sinatra days, where we dress up and wear a suit and a tie to work? Or are we somewhere in the middle, where we like to go business casual? I'm going to call that the Brad Pitt look. I prefer the Brad Pitt look myself. Right? I don't want to be Frank Sinatra dressed, but I also don't want to go as far as the Star Wars generation. And no offense to anybody who likes Star Wars, I like Star Wars too. Right? Like, I love the last show, Obi-Wan. I thought that was fantastic. I've seen all the movies. But I'm just saying that when you look at what kind of person is going to work for you, maybe that Star Wars type individual, maybe that's perfect for your business. Maybe that's the guy you need. So who is that person? What do they look like? What age are they? Is it a he? Is it a she? Right? What kind of person is this? What do they believe in? What do they like? What do you like? What do you believe in? And I really think that the first step to building your own brand of crazy is creating your values. Do you have a personal set of values? Because if you don't know what your values are, if you don't know what you stand for, you will not attract the right type of people. If you've ever seen the movie In the Line of Fire with Clint Eastwood, he says, I'm an adult male over 60 years old who's a heterosexual and plays the piano. That's what you get out of me. Okay, cool. We know a lot about Clint Eastwood based on that statement, right? So who are you? What are you into, right? So for me, my beliefs are really, really important. I'm a Christian guy. That's super important to me, right? My values are going to lead the way. What else does that mean? That also means that I believe in what's called tithing, right? Giving a percentage of my income to the church. And I also believe in generosity. I also believe in helping the poor, helping the disadvantaged, helping those around. Those are things that are really, really important to me. Many times throughout my business career, I've thought of quitting. Many times I've thought, I can't do this anymore. Many times I've thought, I am so burnt out. And then many times I've been so successful where I've thought, I should just retire. But the same thing comes back every single time. And it's, no, my mission isn't done yet. My mission isn't over. Well, Dave, what's your mission? Well, I have this crazy dream. I have this crazy goal to give $100 million a year to charity. Now, I may never be able to do that on my own. But if I can partner with amazing people who give to the same causes and we can make that happen, then I feel like I've achieved that goal. So giving back to community, not for my glory, but I believe for the glory of God is what's important. But to get people to join in this group and to do this, it's like I got to share that story, right? I got to share that goal. I write it down. I talk about it all the time. I'm sure people think I'm crazy. The guy's a nut. Well, that's part of building your own brand of crazy because, hey, you're crazy. Hey, you're a nut. That all kind of goes in the same flow, right? But I've decided a long time ago what's important to me. I also made this decision that I don't want to work with people that I don't like. So what does that mean? Similarly, we got to be into some of the same things, right? It's kind of like when you're dating and you're sitting across from that person that you're really interested in. Well, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is blue. My favorite color is blue too, right? You made commonality. Or what's your favorite sports team? I love the Yankees. I love the Yankees too. Do you love sunsets? Yes. Oh my goodness, did we just become best friends? Right? Now we've become friends because we had commonality. Because there were things that were interesting between us that we shared. And so you're identifying these things in yourself. You're identifying these attributes about what you like and about who you are. And then you write those things down. Draw it out. This is me. These are my values. Right? I'm Native American, so giving back to Native American business is super important to me. Helping Native Americans is super important to me. Guess what? I also love the environment. I'm also hugely into protecting the environment. That doesn't mean that I'm like, some crazy environmentalist. Can I say that, crazy environmentalist? No, because I'm kind of like into the environment. But what does that mean? Well, for me, that means that when I plow snow, which is a core competency of my business, I want to do that using liquid products. I want to use liquid products because they don't affect and damage the streams the same way that salt does. Right? That's really important to me. Hey, we install electric vehicles because we don't maybe pollute as much. So it's kind of a cool thing, right? Does that mean that I'm going to give up my diesel truck? Probably not. I still love driving a Ford. But at the end of the day, it is something that's important to me. It is something that I care about. So I want to resonate that. I want to work with those kind of people that have those same kind of thoughts. I like people who work hard. I like people with an old school type mentality. I like people who are no nonsense, who will just tell you straight. I don't want to beat around the bush. These are things that I've decided are important to me. Hey man, don't sugarcoat it. Just give it to me straight. Hit me right between the eyes. And now I have put together what my values are, and now I can put together what my staff looks like, and I've envisioned it. And so once I've envisioned what my staff and my team looks like, I know who I'm going to hire. I might not know the person's name, but I know what they roughly are going to be. I know roughly what their age is going to be. I know roughly, what their religion might be. I know roughly what their political stance might be. I know roughly who they are, because I don't want to be debating at work. I don't want to be arguing at work. I don't want to be uncomfortable at work. I don't want to feel like I can't express myself at work. So the first part of building your business, starting your business, is creating what your business looks like. And then it's really, where are you going to work? Are you going to work in the neighborhood that you live in? Are you going to have an office in that neighborhood? Are you going to work from home? If you work from home, are you going to be able to separate work from life? Are clients going to be able to come there? Do clients need to come there? Can I set up a Regent's office somewhere else and work from home and save some money? Or do I need the office? What does that office look like? What kind of paint is on the walls? What kind of carpet is on the floor? What are you saying to your customer? And most importantly, what do your customers say about themselves when they hire you? Did they hire you because they couldn't afford anybody else? Did they choose to go with the cheap because that's all they could afford at the time? Or did they want the very best at the very best cost? Or did they want the most professional? What is being said about you when you work with your customers, right? What is being said? I think this is really important. And then really identifying what your financial goals are. What is the goal for my business in year one? What do I expect to hit? And then how am I going to hit that? Starting to break down and work out, what is my cost of acquisition per customer? If you've ever listened to the Shark Tank, they're going to ask the same questions over and over again. What does it cost to get a customer? What does it cost to get a customer? What's the cost of acquisition for a customer? Why do we need to know what the customer costs us? Super important, right? If we know what the customer costs us, we know how many opportunities we need to run, how many sales leads we need to get. Do you know exactly how many customers you need to get in front of every single month? Well, I'll tell you a story. Dylan Moses works for me. Great guy, absolutely fantastic. Never did sales in his life. Came into our business, awesome project management team lead, awesome member of our leadership team. We said, hey, Dylan, we're going to put you in some sales now. He's like, what? You're going to put me in sales? This is crazy. I said, Dylan, we just need you to follow a couple of simple rules. One, we need you to see 30 customers a week, 120 customers a month. If you do that, we're going to give you a $1,000 bonus. And then we need you to close 16 jobs a month. What size jobs? Don't care. Just out of these customers, we need you to close 16 jobs. If you do that, you get another $1,000 bonus. And then, hey, here's the last piece. At the end of the day, if you are the top salesman in the company, including all of our franchise owners, you get another $1,000 bonus. So you can have a potential to make $3,000 a month. So Dylan's thinking about it, and he's like, okay, I'm going to do this sales thing. So what's the goal? Okay, well, the goal is 120 customers a month, 30 a week. That's 6 a day, and you need to get the bid out the same day, 24 hours. That's the only other requirement. We'll do everything else for you. We'll make sure everything else happens. All right, cool. Oh, and by the way, you got to follow up 1 time a week. All right, we got that. So Dylan's first month as a salesperson, he's the highest grossing salesman in all of TransBlue, including all of the franchisees who have been there for much, much, much longer than he's been. In 1 month, he outsold every single unit. Why is that? Because we worked backwards from the numbers. We already knew the number that we needed to hit. But as a company, as a leadership team, we needed to understand how many leads he had to get in front of. And we knew that if he was new and what his close rate would be, we knew that if he was in front of 120 customers, that he would close 16 jobs. And what we found on average, that he would close about 25 jobs. He would actually exceed the goal by about 9. And we understood his close rate. And we understood the value of each job. So now we could forecast and predict how much money we would make every single month. And the 3 months he did sales, he was the top earning salesman 3 months in a row. With all of just following a couple of very simple benchmarks. Know how many leads you need to run. Know when you need to get your proposal to your customer. Make sure you have a good team that can support the pricing. And get the bids out. And people are going to buy the service. And so when you're building your business, forecasting that number, forecasting that revenue in year 1, year 2, year 3, you need to understand that. You also need to understand, if I'm going to run 120 leads, how much am I going to pay per lead? We figure it's about $100. So that tells us if we're going to run 100 leads, right, and it's going to be $100 a lead, how much are we going to spend? We're going to spend $10,000 or $12,000. Right? We know what our budget is. So now we can throw that budget number into our cost of acquisition. And now we know the time, 3 hours an estimate, roughly. If you say drive time, there, that, back and forth. Now we know that. We can anticipate the fuel costs. We can anticipate the costs of marketing materials delivered at each site. And then we can take our close rate out of there. Let's say he closes at 20%. Okay, so 20% is what he closes. Now that has a number to it because 80% of the jobs didn't make it. Just as an example. And now we come up with a cost of acquisition. And what we found was that the cost of acquisition per client was around $1,000. So we know that each client cost us $1,000. So now we have a budget number for that. And now we are predictively deciding, and I use deciding as a word because we know that if we get in front of X number of customers and we have X number of dollars to spend to get in front of those customers, we're going to close X amount of deals. We're just going to play the law of averages every single month. Of course, there's little things we have to do in the playbook, but that's how I decide to build my business. I decide how long is it going to take me to hit my goal based on these metrics and these leads, and how often do I want them. And then I decide what kind of operational staff I'm going to need to do this. How many projects can one person manage at a single time? How long does it take for them to complete the project? How do I know how long it takes to complete the project? So what I'm saying is that we are creating this business plan. But it's not just a business plan, it's a culture plan. Because it starts with, I said, well, I like hardworking people. Cool, so they're not going to be afraid to work hard. I like people who shoot it to me straight. Okay, they're going to give me the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I like people who are going to dress professional, not over the top, and not below the standard. Why do I want that? Because I want to make sure the appearance is always clean with my customer because I want to deliver this incredible world-class experience. And so when we understand all of these functions, when we understand all of these things, we are now really able to build our business. And we know how much to invest in the business. We know how much money it's going to take. And we know how long it's going to take to be successful. But beside that, we have to decide what we are going to do and what success looks like. Because if I was able to achieve this goal, but I had to work 80 hours a week, was that worth it? And if I was going to work 80 hours a week, what time was going to be spent with my family? What's left over? Can you still make time for your family and work 80 hours a week? Here's the goal. Can you work 80 hours a week and your family not feel like you worked 80 hours a week? Can they feel like you worked 40? Do you have that drive? Do you have that grit? Do you have that determination? look and answer those questions to yourself. What happens when you get fired for the first time? What happens when you fail the first time? Are you okay with filing bankruptcy along the way and rebuilding? Are you going to take your eye off the ball? What's your commitment to this initiative? Are you all in? Are you going to burn the ships to be successful? Is your business idea smart? How long does it take to get successful? I was just meeting with a gentleman today who was thinking about going into franchising. And I said, well, it's going to take a lot longer than you think. It's hard. We don't control a lot of the things that a franchisee does. We control what faces the customer. So how do you build that? How do you run that? What do you look like? And decide what this company looks like, and decide it with the end in mind. Build it from the very, very last moment. When are you putting it up for sale? When are you selling it? When are you turning it over to your family? When are you turning it over to your children? When are you having an employee take it over or buy it? And guess what? It's never worth as much as you think it is, because you have all the emotional investment. Just because you put the time in doesn't mean you get to put a price tag on it. So think about all these things. Write them all down. And then my suggestion is go sit down with a guy who's been in business for 20 years and listen to what he has to say. Then go find a guy who's been in business for 35 years and ask him what he has to say. And then last but not least, go find a guy who's been in business for 10 years and find out what he has to say. And when you do that, take your notes comparatively and write it down line for line. What does he say? How does he deal with his customers? Does he like his business? Would he do it again? What I find is that guys who have been in business for 10 years, they just finally hit a milestone. But it took them 10 years to figure it all out. A lot of times. A lot of times it takes a guy 10 years to hit $1 million, and then after that, he goes crazy and he makes money, money, money. I made $3 million in my first 3 years. Year 3, I was doing $3.2 million in revenue. But let me tell you what, I ran into the depression of 08 and 09, and it hit me like a freight train. And so think about, how do you build your business to be recession proof? How do you build contingencies into your business? These are the things that you're thinking about. These are the things that you're building. And this is why I love franchising, because you get all of that figured out for you. You basically buy a business in a box, right? All of those lessons that we paid millions of dollars in lessons learned, and gray hair and emotional stress, and sometimes families lost. You have the advantage of learning. But with that learning, you miss all of the important lessons too. You miss a lot of the whys. And so as you're building your business and as you're thinking about it, it's more than just the license. And if you want to talk about this, if you want to learn more about building your business, I am always available. I can easily be found on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Dave Wescott. You see this beautiful face, and you know you've got the right one. I'll be back next week with Build Your Own Brand to Crazy. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Check out our companies, transbluefranchise.com, condoshield.org, transbluefranchise.com, transblue.com. Check us out, see what we're all about. We're the real deal. Hope you enjoyed today's session, and reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's get hooked up.